iClimb, Tutorial 3, Scene Setup.
Welcome to the iClimb Scene Setup tutorial. Open up the iClimb demo scene or any scene you want. If you want to get to the iClimb demo scene, you can go to Tools, Glass Vault Studio, iClimb, and then open demo scene. Or you can search through the folder hierarchy in your project, Glass Vault Studio, iClimb, Scenes. And if you're interested in networking while we're here in these folders, you can go to iClimb integrations and then double click the Unity networking package within the iMove folder under the iClimb integrations. But for now, we're just in the standard iClimb demo scene. And let's use the tag manager. So over in your hierarchy of the scene hierarchy, right click and create an empty object and call it iClimb tag manager. And then we'll call this one rear tower. You can have multiple tag managers within your scene. So let's put some tags on this part of the castle right here. So on the tag manager object that you just created, add a component, iClimb tag manager. So this is for managing and placing tags on the objects in your scene for ledge climbing. If you want free climbing, then all you have to do is click the object and assign it to the free climb layer. For example, the free climb layer is reserved for layer 25, iClimb free climb. And the iClimb tag layer is reserved for user layer 24, iClimb tag. It should automatically set these up when you did the iClimb setup. And then layer 23 is reserved for player. So back to our ledge. We don't want the inspector to keep changing back and forth, so select the tag manager and then lock the inspector with this little lock icon up here. That way when we click on other items, it's not going to remove that from the inspector. So let's make this area of the castle climbable. First, I'll show you how to use the brush painter, the prefab painter, and then after that, I'll show you how to use the auto generator. Let's put some standard tags on this edge right here. Click on the tag manager. You may have to unlock it so that it reactivates. So click off, click on. If you click somewhere else, the tag manager will turn the brush off and turn the gizmos off so that you don't accidentally leave gizmos on whenever you're working on other things in your scene, because who has time to turn all this off? So lock and enable brush tool. By default, the active brush is an iClimb tag prefab. So that is simply a little tiny tag like that. It's just a object with a collider on it, and it's set to the iClimb tag layer. So iClimb, whenever it's searching for ledge tags, will find those collider objects. They're triggers, they're not collidable. And it will use that as it'll recognize that as a proper handhold. So we could manually click here one at a time, and it's going to stay whirled up and then place its forward direction aligned with the normal of whatever object you're clicking. So we could do these one at a time, or we can hold Control and delete them. So I want to do a few more than one at a time. So I'll enable continuous drag mode and hold it in and kind of drag along this edge. And we could change the brush size if we wanted to. Currently it's 0.25. We could double that to 0.5 and the green will show larger. So then as we're dragging it, we'll try to place it only every half a measure. Okay, like that. And now if you wanted to, let's say one of these was facing the wrong way, you could drag these little nodes right here. And this is the forward direction of that tag. So when you're climbing, ledge climbing, this forward, the climbing controller is going to respect this forward direction. So if this is backwards like this, your character is going to go into the wall. So you want to make sure these are always facing inwards. And in this corner right here, it would probably need to be kind of diagonal like that. Or we would just remove this one completely. So you couldn't get too close to that corner. Let's brush a few more of these. Okay, that looks fine. And there is a line drag tool for just dragging a straight line. And then it places them very quickly on that edge. Okay, now let's add another object to the brush array. Add brush prefab. And here we can go to the iClimb folder, prefabs. Now you can use your own ledge for this, but I'll show you what this ledge looks like. So it's just a rectangular object, and then it has a iClimb tag on it facing forwards, but it's on the upper back of the climb hold. And then there is a glowing object here. If we enable the mesh for that, in built-in it's glowing, in URP this material is not glowing. So that's fine for the demo. But that's what this ledge looks like. So let's go back to the scene and lock our tag manager in the inspector again. And let's drag that ledge as brush prefab 1. So then when we enable brush, we can change the active brush prefab to the ledge and then just click and it places that prefab normal to the surface. Now, if you hold and click, it will let you rotate it around. If you're clicking quickly and you accidentally drag, it's going to place them sideways like that. The drag is useful if you're placing something on an edge like this. You can quickly align it to some abnormal direction. Okay, so let's put a bunch of climb holds all over this, being careful not to drag the cursor. Now, you probably don't want to put them down there, just up high. Kind of randomize them a bit. Okay, those look good. And you can use any prefab you want for that, so I assume your game is going to be different than this one. And you'll want your own prefabs for that. Okay, next on to the auto tag generator. Down here, we've got the tag object that it's going to generate everywhere. And then the input objects, these are the objects that it's going to generate tags on. And then the no tag zone, this could be an empty prefab that has a collider on it. And what it's going to do is not put tags anywhere in that object. For example, maybe you wanted to put tags on this, but you didn't want them to go inside that wall. You could have this as the no tag zone, or this as the no tag zone. So let's put some objects in this input object list. Do not put large prefabs or your entire scene. That's going to freeze this up. This is intended for small walls at a time, basically. So let's grab the top of this. And we can grab all 4. That's fine. It's just if you grab like this entire spire, it might go into a frenzied loop. So we'll drag these 4 over to the input objects. Okay, that should be fine. And then there are some settings here. By default, they should be okay. We only want it on the top edges, and the climb type is not relevant at the moment. That's for future use. We'll just keep it at wall for now. And we don't want it to include inside edges. And generate tags. Oh, right. This warning pops up, making sure you save your project before you run this, just in case you accidentally did drop your whole scene into it or too large of a prefab. So we'll cancel. And let's save our project. And if you're using version control, then now is a good time to back it up like that. Or if you're doing a manual zip, do that. I find one of the best ways to back up your project is to export it as a package. So go ahead and back it up and then generate tags. Run. And if the prefabs were small enough, it will generate it pretty quickly. So it went and found all of the edges that fit our conditions. We didn't have any no tag zones. Perhaps we should have put some no tag zones here, but this is what the brush editor is good for, cleaning this up. So right away, you'll see that a lot of these tags are facing the wrong direction. For whatever reason, it could be imperfections in the mesh, it could be calculation errors in the generator, but the gizmo length can be displayed here, so you can exaggerate those so that you make sure the tags are all facing the correct directions. So it looks like we forgot to replace the iClimb. It's using the ledge instead of the iClimb tag. So that looks like it might be a bug. So let's undo that generation. We'll hit remove tags. And we'll remove, for now, we'll just remove the brush. And we'll go into the brush editor and select default climbing tag. I'll try to fix that before this is released, but for now we'll do that and then generate tags again. It should be using this tag option here. Yes, run. There it is. Okay. So now it's not placing ledges, it's placing just the tags. But we notice that a bunch of these are facing the wrong way, so let's go ahead and let's make this a little smaller. There we go. Move some of these around like that. And even smaller. Usually it doesn't miss this many. On the other side, it was fine. I tested this before, so I'm not sure why it went overkill on the wrong direction here. At this point, it might have been faster to just use the line tool. Maybe we need a quick like reverse direction for the line for the brush tool. That might be nice. Okay, there is now a reverse direction mode. Enable brush and make sure reverse direction mode is enabled. And now whenever you hold Alt, it will turn into reverse direction mode. So let's reverse these tags quickly without having to manually do it. There we go. And oh, so much better. Okay. Okay, I can live with that. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So that should be all those. Oh, there's a couple more down here. Let's manually drag that one. Looks like it kind of clustered these up a bit. I mean, if you want, you can remove extra ones. Probably cluster them up because there's a bunch of different prefabs stacked here. But it really doesn't matter too much because iClimb is only going to pick one of them. And I'm not sure we want to climb to this ledge. It might make it awkward for the player and how they place their feet. So we could remove those. Yeah, we'll get rid of all those. And clean up a few of these directions. In fact, let's just get rid of that little spot right there. They don't have to be right there. And it looks like it tucked one in there. It shouldn't have been. So if the tags are within an object, it should not, and your layers are set up properly, iClimb should not recognize that, or it should see that that is hidden, and it will not let you jump to that. That's how it's supposed to work. We'll manually add these ones there. And we'll put one there and there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So even with the tag generator, there's still some manual cleanup that you need to do just due to calculation errors and whatnot. Okay, we hit on free climb just a little bit earlier, but I want to go over it one more time just in case I forgot to mention this. So to free climb, you have to have the object set to the free climb layer that iClimb is expecting. In this case, it is why is it not grabbing that? Oh, it's still locked. There it is. Okay. In this case, that is iClimb free climb. And again, that is on layer 25. If you're free climbing, it's likely that you might be doing it on vines or some sort of loose material or rocks. So I recommend making sure the vines are on a raycast ignore layer and that you have an underlying either mesh collider or collider on a smoother object so that each of these different directions doesn't mess up the surface normal that iClimb is expecting. So even though it can handle some pretty rough rocks, I would not expect it to handle a bunch of empty spaces like vines very well. And that concludes this tutorial for the scene setup for iClimb.